Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I just wanted to jump on here today to share with you guys just a few vintage packs that are going to be heading into my Etsy shop as soon as this video goes live, and just a couple other things that I've got that I'm going to be popping in there. Lately I have not really been focusing too much on stocking my shop, so it's looking pretty pitiful over there, I'm afraid. So I wanted to create a few new things just to pop in. So, and with that being said, what I've got here is I've got 5 new vintage sort of ephemera packs or bundles. Some of the things you might have seen before, some things are new in here, but I will take you through everything that's in them. And these are actually larger vintage bundles as well, so they're much larger than the previous ones that I've done. So there's only going to be 5 of these available, and then that will be it for a while from me. So I think I'll just take you through one that I haven't completely sort of sealed up. As you can see here, each one is a little bit different in the way that it has the same types of things, but it'll have different kinds of that thing in there. So, you know, it will have different vintage postcards, different vintage cabinet cards, there's vintage labels, they'll be a little bit varying, and envelopes and things like that, but they'll all be the same type of things. So with that being said, I will go through one of the packs that I have here. I'm unsure how many pieces are in the pack at this stage, but every single item will be listed over on my Etsy shop, so you can check it out over there if you would like. So let's just pop these aside. They're done up with these beautiful laces here, and this beautiful trim, and then this little ribbon here. So this one here is the one that I have not sealed up properly. Let me just double check that I'm in frame for you guys. Maybe I'll just zoom you down a little bit. There we go. Okay, so I'll open this up. Just a little ribbon here. And these packs here will have to be sent as a parcel, so it will come with tracking. Just so that it doesn't get lost, because I know that the post and things like that is quite slow at the moment due to coronavirus. So at least if I send these in a parcel, you guys will get tracking and you'll be able to see whereabouts it is, because I know that a lot of mail is taking a lot longer to arrive at the destination at the moment. So it's a bit unfortunate, but it's just something we've got to bear with, I guess. Okay, so to start off with, I've got a few of these cards. Now these were from a game that I had bought, which was called a syllable game, I think. So there were a couple of different types of cards in them. So this one here says seeing, and then the backs have got like blue on them. And this one here is a little bit different. It's got shape and clear, so each one of these cards will have different words on them. It's a vintage syllable game. Over here we've got a vintage sort of fruit juice cordial label. It's really awesome. I love these kinds of things. So each one of these will be a different colour, might be yellow or something like that. So there's that one. This here is a lovely, it's a tiny little vintage diary that I got from 1946, I think, and it spans through, I can't quite remember, but you'll get a little pull out of it, and it's got the calendar there and notes, and the same on the back. There's a sweet little cigarette card. You might get one with a butterfly or a flower on it. There's a couple of sheets of these vintage chemist shopping list sort of notepads, so they're a little bit of fun. You guys might have seen these ones before. They're my Russian calendar sheets. I adore these. I love anything with Russian writing. It's just such a beautiful script. So that's what that looks like. You get one red and one black. This one here is another calendar, sort of a vintage calendar, but I think this one spans over 100 years. So you might get something that says 1974 to 1992 or something. So yeah, just it folds in half like this. Really cute. Then we've got 3 vintage tickets here, 20p from Guernsey. So I actually bought these from my lovely friend Corey, who's Crafty Coco over on Instagram. Then we've got 4 different vintage playing cards here. Let's see if I can just get them up. So a bird. There's 2 different types of birds in these packs. So there's this one and there's a different kind. A floral one. I've accidentally thrown an extra one in there, so I'll just pop that one aside. A lovely flower one. This lovely lady who's my absolute favourite. And this really sweet little girl, vintage girl. So that's 4 vintage playing cards. And you've got a lovely vintage photograph. Each one of these will be different. Might be a little bit smaller, might be a little bit larger, but they're just sort of small vintage photographs. You got 3 of my black vintage tickets here. And then you've got some beautiful vintage postcard. So each vintage postcard in these packs is a floral themed, so they're just beautiful. Every one of them that I've pulled for these packs, I have really loved myself. So most of them, I think, don't have writing on the back. Maybe one has got a little bit of writing, but I think most of them, yeah, I don't think they've got writing on them. So then we've got this vintage, it's a arithmetic school book. So it's actually used in a school. Very, very vintage. This tiny little sort of book that they would have here. And yeah, it's got just little arithmetic things. So this one's about money, I guess, and then there's other ones that'll have different things on the paper. This here is a tiny little fold out book that I bought, and it's featuring images from Poland, so vintage sort of images from Krakow in Poland, which is one of my favorite places, by the way. Then you will get a vintage cabinet card. Each one of these is different here. This one here is from Bordeaux. I believe I bought this one in the Netherlands when I was over there. So yeah, Charles, yeah, Bordeaux. It's really lovely. So I think I got that one from there. You've got this vintage flashcard, which is blue on one side and sort of reddy pink on the other. This is vintage, like a telephone Rolodex piece. So that's really, really interesting. This here's a vintage lotto game card, so by Spears England. I think this was from the 60s, I believe, the early 60s. So nice little game card there. There's this customer sort of financial sheet here, date, sales rep, contractor. You have got a vintage lottery sort of slip ticket. So these are from the 1960s. There is a vintage banking check. They're all blanks from the Commonwealth Trading Bank of Australia. It's got a perforated bit down here that you could tear off and use that piece separately. So whoop, it's very interesting. Here we've got another, let me just double check that I'm in frame, you guys. Here we've got another cordial, like vintage label, and these ones come in different colors as well. So there was red, brown, green and purple, I believe, and they all sort of say this here, and then I guess a different flavor. So this one here is a raspberry flavor cordial from Wagga Wagga. So yeah, it's really, really awesome. I got these on eBay. So, and here we've got a sheet of vintage, I'm not too sure what they call these. Let me just have a look, because I do have a booklet here of them. They're Saver stamps. A lot of you guys, I think, will know what these are. They come from the US. They are not from here in Australia. I don't believe we had anything like this here in Australia, but I'm unsure. But this is a whole sheet that I've managed to take out of some books. I had to soak them off so they'd come off in a sheet. So there are 50 individual stamps here that you could pull apart. I just absolutely love these. I love the green colour and the red colour. They just look awesome. So those, I think they were from the 50s. Or the 60s, something like that. So I'll see if I can see it in this booklet here. So here, carrying on from that, there's a Saver booklet here from S&H, which is, let me just have a look, Sperry and Hutchinson's company. So this one here's got stamps in it, so I made sure that every booklet that I've put in has stamps. So these ones are different to these ones. These are 50s. You could soak them off if you want. Great lot of fun. So there is that one, and on that same note, I'll just pull this one out here. I also threw in one of these, which is another Saver book here, but does not have stamps in it, but it's just, I thought it's a fun little fold out here. So yeah, it's fun to play around with. You could pop that in your journals, which I think, so, you know, it's already folded up for you. You could do whatever you like there. So there is this 4-in-1 Saver book here. So here is a vintage email envelope. Now this one here is the only one that has this this envelope in it. The other ones have a red and brown envelope that says Telegram Urgent on it, but they're just vintage envelopes anyway. So this one here is gorgeous. So yeah, there's one of these, and the rest of the 4 packs have a red and brown vintage envelope in them. Here we've got a beautiful black and white sort of photograph postcard kind of a thing from Monaco. Just lovely, a beautiful place to visit too. Here there are 2 of my vintage bridge scorers. These are like thin ones, which I think are really beautiful pieces of vintage ephemera. We have got another flash card here, so this one's 3x8, and it's double-sided. So yeah, I love the way that's got the corner cut here, but you could cut the corner off here and it could quite easily become a tag, which is a lot of fun. Then we've got this beautiful these are butterfly and moth edu cards is what they're called, and I believe they're from the 1960s as well. Really beautiful images, and then on the back it's got the information about the card. So yeah, 1961. So this one's a swallowtail, and yeah, each one of these cards will either have a butterfly or a moth, but really beautiful images. Then here we've got a vintage bingo card, and I love this because it's so colourful. I'm not sure the date of this, it looks very vintage though, but a lot of fun there. You could definitely cover up the back there and journal on it and have this beautiful piece of vintage ephemera. So here I put some clippings from a vintage newspaper, and these newspapers range from, I think, the early 1900s to the 1930s around about. So I just pulled some little vintage clippings that you can play around with. So I think there's about 5 in each. So yeah, Lemon and Pyro, these are from New Zealand, which is so much fun. And it's really fun to look back because they had, I think we still went by pounds until the 60s or the 70s. So everything back then was in pounds, just like in the UK. So here's 5 pieces of vintage newspaper advertisings in here. Then we've got this, this came from a vintage banking book actually. So some of these, well, most of them are blank, but I think one's got like writing on it. So yeah, it's really, really fun. So it's brought forwards in pounds once again. So there's that lovely sheet there. Then we've got a piece of vintage school ledger. You guys might remember these from my other packs as well. I've taken it out like this so that you've got like a full spread here. So this one here is from 1902, and it's from the 11th class girls. I can't quite read. No, that's the girls' names up here. So that's Winifred, and then over here is Joy. You can see if they have completed their work, their scriptures, and their behaviour. And yeah, I think that's so fun to look back on. So here's that piece. Here I've got this vintage piece of, it's like a cricket scoring paper, I guess. So really, really interesting, really vintage. You'll have a lot of like markings and stuff on this one, but I just adored the green in it, and I love the grid. So it says match play between, it's got batsman, score, innings, date, and yeah, so much fun. So I think some of these might have writing on them as well, and some of them might be blank. And then we've got some papers here. So This one here is from a vintage needlework book, and I pulled out the section that had laces in it because I thought that was really interesting. It had beautiful designs that you could cut out the laces on here. So there's a double sheet of that. Then this is a vintage sort of stamp catalogue book page, which is so much fun. Once again, I've left it intact so you could sew this into your journal as is, or you could cut the stamps out. I love cutting these little images out. They're so much fun for collage. So there's that one. There's a sheet of this Beaton's Ready Reckoner is what it's called. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's got some awesome tables on it. It's one of my favorite books, and I'm pretty much down to the last pages on it because I've used it so much. There's a lovely vintage bird images. So these are all from New Zealand. You'll get different bird images on them. This one's the New Zealand falcon. We've got my absolute favorite sheet of Russian book pages from a Russian reader. I absolutely love the Russian script, so there's that. Then we've got grammar and vocabulary. So it just folds out like so, and it's like a test. Really, really interesting. This one here is a German book page, and just like the the Russian script, I find it really beautiful, this old German script. So I've left that intact as well, so you can see it like that. This one here is some shorthand book page. Really, really interesting. I just don't know how shorthand works, but yeah, it's really cool script. So there's that. A couple pieces of my lined vintage paper that I love so much as well. Then there is this floral sheet or book page. Interesting story actually behind this one. I got this from Denmark when I was over there, and I walked past an old church and they had a book sale on, and I went in there, and knowing that I only had carry-on baggage for this particular little short trip that I was on, I decided I couldn't leave this book behind, so I ended up bringing it back with me. And this one has got beautiful floral images on them. They all do, but they'll have different flowers and such. So yeah, and it's in the beautiful Danish language. So here's that. So here what we have is, if you guys remember in one of my last videos, I brought a couple of 18th century books. So I've pulled some pages out of these 18th century books for you. So this one is from, trying to think, what was it called? The Quiver is what it's called. And yeah, I've kept it intact. So I think they all have images on them as well. So this is from the mid 1800s. So really beautiful, beautiful vintage page there. And then this one is from, I think it was called The Girl's Own Paper, and it's from the early 1800s, and it's so fragile and vintage. This one here has got a beautiful poem on it with an image on it. Each one of these pages have got some sort of illustration on them. So yeah, and this one here, Answers to Correspondence. I think I told you guys they're really interesting to read through these correspondence here. So there's that one. And let me just take the paper clips off here. I just did this to try and keep the wallpaper flat in it. So I cut out some wallpaper sheets. So there are 5 in here. 5 of my favorites, of course. This beautiful yellow floral one. It's a pink one. This blue one. This green one. And then this one, I don't know if you guys have seen before, but it's like a bluey, very light pale blue and pink, and it's got this beautiful flower pattern on it. So there's that. And lastly, there is some of my vintage horse ledger, and I have kept this one sort of intact, so it folds right out there. There's a bit of paper there. So you've got this full sheet. I'm not sure if you can you see that? Yeah, you can see that okay. This full sheet here that you can play around with, but it's really interesting. It's got colour and description and name, and I love the numbers up here. So that is it, you guys. That's it for these packs. Let me just try and scoot it over here. There's lots of lovely bits and pieces in here for you to play around with. And yeah, like I said, only 5 of these will be available. And yeah, I'll pop this one aside now and I'll show you guys a few more things, just a few more things that I've got going into my shop here. These are quite popular in my shop, so I decided to make some more, sort of spread them out here. But these are my Edith Holden pockets and tags. I have made 10 sets of the pockets and 11 sets of the tags, just because I miscounted how many I was doing of the tags, so it ended up being 11 of them. So these are the tag packets, and you get 10 tags in each packet, and they each have illustrations on them, so no writing on these ones, just lovely illustrations on each one. Each packet is different, as you can see here, but all really, really beautiful with mushrooms, dragonflies, and some more mushrooms actually on this one. So there's the tags. There's more in here somewhere, yeah. There's more tags in here. So all of those will be going into my shop, 11 sets, and then the pockets. Let's put that one aside. The pockets here have got 5 in each, and once again, they're all beautiful images on them. No sort of writing or anything on these ones, just lovely images, lots of birds and stunning illustrations. So that is it, you guys. That's everything that's heading into my shop shortly. I hope you enjoy them. I've got to keep working on some things actually to go in to my shop to make it look a little bit better. It's looking pretty sad over there at the moment. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm going to be back soon, pretty soon actually, because I want to do some journaling in my new book. And I just went up to Mount Tamborine yesterday, and I got some beautiful flowers, and we visited a nursery up there, and we got some things for our house, for our garden. So I want to do some journaling about that, and I thought I'd bring you guys along with me. So that'll be my next video, which will be coming very, very soon, within the next probably couple of days, I would say. So yeah, look out for that one, and I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I will pop a link to my Etsy shop down below so you guys can go and check out any of these items if you are at all interested. And yeah, once again, the vintage ephemera packs will be posted as a parcel, and I'm going to put tracking on them, so it might make it a little bit more expensive, but it's just because of the current postal situation. I don't want things to get sort of lost. I don't want people sort of getting worried that their item is taking so long and not knowing why. But if you do not want tracking on it, you can message me prior and just say, Sarah, I don't want tracking, please change the postage for me, or something like that. So yeah, okay guys, I will head off now and have a wonderful weekend. Take care. I will chat to you soon. Bye guys.